Okay, welcome. This is the January meeting of the KSD Together meeting. And as I said, well, for those in the room, Dr. Behringer is at Pack the Gym tonight at Kentridge, so he cannot be with us. Another important meeting and event happening in our district. So we're here to help facilitate this discussion tonight. My name is Faith Sisley. I'm Director of Communications here for the school district and just here to listen and learn and share some information as well. So our first item on the agenda is to go around with introductions. So if you would like to share your name, your KSD affiliation, and then why do you want to be a part of this group? So we'll start with Raul.
Yes, Raul Parango, Executive Director of Finance. Just want to be able to support and provide the information.
Yeah, I'm Brett Scribner. I'm the Assistant Director of Capital Projects, and I'm here to listen to the community and support however we can.
We do need to talk into our microphone so that the people online can hear as well.
Sure. I'm Joe Riley, KSD parent, and I'm here to hopefully gain support between the community and KSD to pass levies and bonds.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sure. Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Theodore Goodrow. I'm one of the early learning special education teachers at Covington. So I'm here to advocate for an expanded early learning program, so an inclusive one too, including more gen ed slots, right, and more support staff.
Thank you.
I'm Nan Sargent, and I'm a parent, number one, and I also teach multilingual education at Canyon Ridge Middle School. So I'm here for lots of kids.
My name is Carla Lance. I am a school bus driver, a community member. I have one child left attending Kentwood High School, and one of my children teaches at River Ridge. So I have all kinds of people that I want to try and do better for.
Thank you.
Secretary.
I'm Pam Hawley. I am the policy coordinator for the district. I've worked for the district for 18 years and I'm just here to learn.
My name is Allison Miller. I am a parent from Scenic Hill Elementary School. And I'm also just here to learn and kind of garner some more information of different things going on.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, and we have one person online. Would you like to introduce yourself? Would you like to speak again? We didn't.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Would you like to share your name?
Yeah, this is Ahmad Fayaz. I received this notification some days before. My kids are in school. One is in middle school and one is in elementary school.
Wonderful. Thank you for being with us online tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So the purpose of this meeting is to foster an environment of transparency and open communication between the district and our community, and to foster transparency and accountability, as we've talked about for the last few months. This committee serves as a platform for sharing ideas. I could probably do that. There we go. Addressing concerns and working together to develop strategies supporting our commitment to equity, excellence, and community as we together successfully prepare our students for their futures. Any comments or questions about the purpose? And welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to share your name and your affiliation with KSD? Once you sit down, sorry. I didn't mean to ambush you. Whenever you're ready. So this committee will keep students in their needs as our focus. We will engage in collaborative discussions and problem-solving sessions. We'll provide valuable input on future bond and levy measures and learn about district processes directly from our KSD staff. We'll also ask questions and receive responses from staff members. Would you like to go ahead?
Am I speaking into this or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a microphone.
Okay. Steve Golliff, I work at Jenkins Creek, teach fifth grade. Both of my kids went through the KSD system, Panther Lake, Meeker and Kent Ridge, and they both graduated several years ago by now. And yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Welcome in. We also have another joining us.
What are we doing?
We're just introducing ourselves and sharing our affiliation with KSD.
Senior citizen, taxpayer, former board president, and community member.
Thank you.
Oh, is it on?
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Leslie Hamada. if you
Oh,
didn't
yes.
catch that.
That would be good. That would be good.
So tonight, we also have agreements and norms and expectations that I'll just go over quickly. We will pause to consider what you say. We'll stay engaged. We'll keep in mind voices not in the room. Ask if you don't understand. Be open to alternative perspectives. Listen when others are talking. All opinions are honored and respect others. Along with that, it's not on here, but we do not have a chat on the Zoom tonight. So if those online want to ask a question, please raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you as well because we want everybody to be involved in the discussion. Okay. Sorry, did that. I'm going to forget doing this every time. All right, so then the next thing on the agenda, PowerPoint is, let me get here. What we need from this committee, this advisory group will learn together and work together to help KSD move toward a better direction when it comes to building a trusting relationship for all things KSD, but specifically future capital measures. The commitment to this group would be consistent participation, the ability to attend various KSD sites as we eventually will be doing site visits, assist with overseeing the future and current project list, and that'll become a part of the regular meetings will be project updates, and then assist in determining project priorities for any future levy or bond capital measures. I think we have somebody here that wants to speak to that tonight as well. So, and then become a KSD ambassador of factual information. So we really want everybody here to share what you learned with your friends and neighbors in your community. Okay, so any questions so far? Stop and ask any questions, okay? Yes.
Have a change. I mean, there's definitely a change in the format for this meeting. Is there like an ongoing change on who's holding the meetings as well? or-
So Dr. Berenger is attending Pack the Gym tonight at Kent Ridge, which is a big district-wide event, and so he was unable to be here. So I am here to facilitate along with our Executive Director of Finance, Raul Pango, and Brett Scribner, our Assistant Director of Capital Planning. Faith Cicely.
Oh, okay.
So
And do you anticipate changes ongoing, with the makeup of the administration of these meetings or?
it might be,
Okay,
depending on
just
who's
curious.
available.
Thanks.
There's been one other occasion that Dr. Berenger was unable to attend, and he went through all the notes and he's keeping abreast of everything as well. So. Anything else? Okay. Oh, we didn't go over this one yet. Okay, so the Pinot levy, we're talking about calendar of upcoming measures. We're looking at running an EPO levy in 2027 to begin collecting in 2028. And then a capital tech levy to run in 27 to begin collecting in 28, or it could be a November 2028 bond. So those are kind of what we're considering right now. And then I just wanted to go over a little exercise. So if we backward map from the November, so let's say we run a November election, this is kind of what it would look like. So the campaign backwards would be May through November. And then the board would pass a resolution hopefully in April of that year. And then we would be preparing for all of that in the 26-27. We would identify the needs and priorities. We would conduct thorough assessment of facilities and infrastructure. We would engage with stakeholders to gather input and prioritize projects. So that's a really high level overview of what this committee work might be. And then from that, we would develop a proposal to individual project cost and why it would be needed, because we always want to be very clear with our why the project is needed and how it would support our students and our families. We want to ensure it is clear, transparent, and addresses the needs of the district and our students. That means students. And then ensure legal requirements are met and proposal is financially sound. So that's kind of like a really, really high overview of what a backward mapping tentative schedule would look like. Any questions about that if we ran in November of 27? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You had February the whole time. My bad. Anyway, I'll switch to that one. And so February would be, campaign would be September through February with a resolution most likely in August. And again, the same bullet points would also apply. So it's just moving the campaign to a February 27 rather than a November. And then asking the board to pass a resolution in August after we do all of these other items and developing the proposal, visiting school sites, surveying our community, getting other input of our stakeholders, and really putting together a proposal that would meet our needs.
I think there's maybe some mistake on the year. If the election is February 27, resolution should be August 26.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yes, it would
It's
be
caught out.
2026. Yep. Thank you for that.
And so September 2026 through February 2027 would be the campaign.
And I assume the preparation for capital projects would also move earlier, 25, 26 instead of 26,
Yeah.
27.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
A few months earlier.
Be a year earlier.
My apologies for that. So knowing that the bulk of our work may be during the 25, possibly 26, 27 school year, we'd like to discuss our meeting schedule. So moving forward, our meetings will include updates on the 2016 bond, the 2018 capital projects and technology levy, and the 2024 capital projects and technology levy. And this would include project timelines, the progress on the projects, and any completions. So there are a lot of completions have already been finished on the 2016 bond, but there's a couple of things. And then the 2018 cap and tech as well. And of course, our brand new 2024 that just passed. So we want to make that an ongoing part of these meetings to help share information. And I know I've been asked, well, why does it take so long to get these projects done? Well, our capital facilities team is really going to delve into that, and permits can take up to a year to get a permit for a project. And then there's bidding, and I mean, Brett can go into that later, but not tonight, but I think the next meeting is when they want that, but.
Yeah, there is certainly a process involved from start to finish. And a lot of people think that starting a project is when you start construction, but there's a lot more that goes into it before you get off the ground.
So we'd love to share that information as well.
It is. Sorry.
Can we just kind of,
Make sure you have the mic. Sorry.
can we go over like what the difference is between a bond and a capital project tech levy? Like just even high level, I know there's a difference between them and how and what and that, but I don't exactly know what it is.
So the main
Yeah,
thing
I could speak to that. So a bond usually is a higher dollar amount and covers larger projects such as either full building replacements or large additions or major improvements, where a levy can take a lot smaller projects such as flooring replacement or windows, doors, roofing, things of that nature.
So mainly it's funding, so. I don't
Yeah,
know if
well,
you're-
there's also a difference in terms of the cash flow. When you pass a bond, you generally divide your authorization. Let's say, for example, 400,000, 400 million bond. You could issue that in 4 issuance, meaning 100 million each. The requirement is you should be able to complete them within a period of 2 years, meaning you could spend them over a period of 2 years. The IRS doesn't want you to issue a big dollar amount that you cannot spend in 2 years. And so this is important for us to be able to schedule the project so that the issuance is actually exhausted in a matter of 2 years. Otherwise, the IRS penalize you for holding those dollars in our bank without spending them. And so that's one. The levy, however, is that you get, generally you pass the levy with a term and say a 3-year term, and then you collect the funds in a period of, let's say, 3 years, with some dollar amounts year after year, and you spend down based on those collections. So there's a cash flow difference. Issuing a bond also requires for us to be evaluated by a credit rating company like Moody's or Standard & Poor's before we're able to issue them. Sure.
And as part of the updates, could we get a list of projects from the 2018 levy that we've decided aren't going to happen anymore or completely fallen off, right? Because we've reallocated money from the levy to other things, which means some set of projects can't get done, but that money's gone somewhere else.
Yeah.
We don't have to answer now, but as part of the updates like that, I would like to know that piece of which projects are now below the line.
Joe, I'm glad you asked that question, because I think that this advisory committee is the perfect group to actually oversee that list. And there aren't necessarily projects that have fallen off. There are certainly projects that are being prioritized to where if worse comes to worse and we can't get to them, there's a handful that we could take a look at and collectively decide how we proceed. So yes, that information will be getting shared. And I think that it's crucial that this group has that information and can monitor how we move forward.
So the list are on the website as well right now. I don't think it has changed,
No,
but let's, as we move forward with the updates.
yeah, but like, so the property purchases that we made in 2024 was $3-point-some million, right?
Mhm.
So there should be $3 million worth of projects that we no longer have funding for because they were on the 2018 levy and now that money has gone to property purchases. And there's not $3 million worth of projects on the current list that says permanently deferred or below the line, or we don't have the funding for this yet. We need the next levy to come in. And that's a question I've asked multiple times and I haven't gotten an answer.
Well, we have contingency plans, contingency funds, and so it could be taken out of that and not ever fall off the list. Does that make sense?
Sure, but then those contingency
So-
funds risk all the other projects too, right? Like,
Well,
we
I
can't
think
do that.
they do it in order, from what I understand from what Dave's talked about before, and if they have the funds at that point.
Yeah, to your point, more so than just the property purchases, but some of the other projects that were created were taken out of contingency to begin with, but it's more of an overall fund balance. And as we finish projects, some finish over budget and some finish under budget. So really, until we nail down that final list and prioritize it. And then as projects close out, we have been closing projects out recently under budget, where it's not a lot, but a little bit of money goes back towards the overall fund balance. So as we near the end of the 2018 levy, we will have a better idea of exactly what may or may not make that final cut. But to your point, yes, there has been some expenses that have come in that have certainly affected that overall fund balance. And we will just see how we can finish off strong.
And we do have, we do have the accounting of all of them, but do have them on a database where we could actually draw that information by project, by location, things like that. So, yeah.
Any other questions at this time? Okay. So I want to circle back around to our cadence of our meetings. I guess we're asking, does monthly work? Do we want to do every other month, quarterly? What is the committee feeling moving forward now that we've done these monthly for the last few months? Just wondering if there's any changes that we'd like to see or any thoughts on the cadence of our meetings?
I like monthly.
I agree.
I think
I agree.
there's tons of information that's. There's tons of information to digest before getting to all that future bonds and levies planning.
Anybody else have any?
Yeah, I think once.
Yes.
Okay. I haven't ever thought, I think monthly is good. But I think one of the things that I've been in this district a long time, and I've been active in other districts where my kids went to school. But one of the things I think that in any group that's effective is building relationships and getting to know each other and continuing that bond. So maybe instead of harsh comments, if there are any, or things that happen off the side, we say, oh, well, that, you didn't, I know the way they meant that, they didn't mean that. So I think one of the things about getting together regularly on a monthly basis is more so, there's a lot of data to observe, but more than that, anything that's worth doing and worth doing for our kids has to involve relationships. And I just see that's been lacking. And sometimes it's because people are just so darn busy. They're trying to keep a roof over their house. I understand all that. And I just would like to see, I'd like to see us try to reach out to some of our neighbors that aren't here, that don't come here too, that they can be a part of it, so we have a real good, diverse group. So that's how you get things done. So, yeah, thank you.
For that?
I'll add to that as well. I think that monthly is appropriate. I know that I see here that we have on my slide, the next one, looks like the February 24th meeting is canceled, which means our next meeting would actually be in March. And I know having skipped December, 2 months just feels like such a long time. I think it's important that we continue meeting more regularly and just keep the conversation going.
Yeah, I think I don't have strong opinions on monthly or bi-monthly or quarterly. Quarterly is probably not frequent enough. But I think what's important for me is understanding what's the agenda of the meetings going forward, because this is the 4th or 5th one. And at this point, I don't know what the point is. I don't see any action taking place. I don't see decisions being made. This feels like a listening session where you come and talk and we come and talk, and then we do the same thing the next month. And I think what I don't want to get out of this meeting is 11 people from the community saying, yes, we approve these projects, because that's not going to pass the levy, right? What we need to do is figure out what is the reason that community members aren't trusting KSD today, and what actions can we take ahead of the levy to be able to show that, yes, KSD has turned a corner. Yes, these things aren't going to happen in the past. And to be able to do that, we have to have proof. Like, you can't just say, yes, we've turned a corner. You have to be able to show that we've turned a corner. And I don't, it's hard for me to see what this group plays in that role. So I'd really be curious from your perspective, like for the next 3 or 4 meetings, what is going to happen in each one? Like, is it because we talked about site visits, and if you go back to one of the slides, it talked about like, what are the things we want to do? Like a site visit, we all go to a school and you say, look at this boiler that needs replaced, and we say, yeah, that looks like, well, most of us will be like, I don't know, I trust your, like, if you're saying it needs replaced, we'll say it needs replaced. But that's not the reason why people voted against the levy, right? They voted against the levy because we purchased property and then didn't use it. We voted against the levy because we reallocated projects without understanding which projects were going to be below the cut, or like where those project money was coming from. Like there's actions being done and no acknowledgement that anything is wrong. And so I guess that's the piece. I don't want this to only focus on what is the levy. I think we need to focus on how do we get the community to trust that the levy is the right thing to do and that KSD is going to actually use it appropriately.
Yeah, appreciate that.
We don't have any, I don't think we have an agenda yet for the next meeting, whenever the next meeting would be. But I think it's my opinion that I think we need to ground ourselves in terms of the 2016 and the 2018 and be able to provide some information, at least financial information, in terms of how much did we start from, what have we used the money, what's the balance? And then 2018 was the starting point, what did we spend the money on, what's the balance? And then what else needs to be done? So I think that would be, in my opinion, I think would be a good starting point so that everybody's grounded. And then on the 24 levy, we have, you know, all the report that we've done during the campaign and say, what are the schedules for all of this? How much is the estimated amount? And, you know, just to be able to get some idea in terms of what are happening right now in 2016, 2018, and 2024. So,
Yeah, I agree with you, Raul. I think that the March meeting would be appropriate to share all that information and really go over where we stand and where we sit. And I feel like these meetings have also kind of just been more or less the same each time. It's we've all come here and you know, we've kind of discussed the same slides. I think that in the beginning here, it seems like kind of a slow start because we're really trying to gather and finalize the actual group of core individuals that are going to put forth the time to show up and really help us out with understanding where we sit with the community. And with that being said, I would like to thank you all for being here tonight again, because I'm starting to see some familiar faces and hear familiar names. So I appreciate you guys putting your time forward to come in and join with us to have these discussions.
So I just skipped ahead to the future topics slide because I think it's relevant right now. So in talking with Dr. Berenger today about tonight's meeting and then what will be happening in the future, it's just those things. Having our executive director of finance present on the finance pieces, having our capital facilities team present on what's been done, what we are doing, what needs to be done still as we look forward to the next measures, and really being transparent and just, we're not hiding anything, I promise. So we just want to share everything that we have and let people ask questions and hopefully provide answers and then move forward as a together committee. So.
and see,
yeah.
for somebody who is on finance, I think there's nothing more exciting than presenting the number and they tie in. If the numbers don't tie in, it's just a big nightmare for some finance folks. And so what I could tell you is that we have been presenting, you know, it's like the year-end financials to the board year after year. And we also provide monthly financial statement, and I could tell you that they tie in. However, I think if we are able to present here in this group, project by project, and if you want to go dissect them even location after location, we could do that. We could dissect them into that granularity. But I could tell you that they match. We just need to be able to communicate them. And so that gives me excitement to be able to do that and say, yes, this number matches. And if you look at the state report, you'll be able to see that the number actually matches. So.
Yes. And this is Nan Sargent talking. of course, right, the money is important, but I really would love to have, I feel like this is, we're getting a little siloed. You know, if we're talking about money that's already been, allocated, I would love to see, be part of the vision of where driving these bonds and levies and looking at more science-based curriculum, looking at the issue of what laptops are doing to our middle schoolers and high schoolers. And I love technology, but I see this huge, for me, I would love to go back to a computer lab and take away individual laptops. I see all this money being spent because of, I feel like I would love to hear the philosophy and the driving science behind who do we want to be as a district? Where, they say, public education is 50 years behind the research, that's been a saying for a long time. But I really think, yes, right? Accountability, seeing where the money is going that we've already allocated, and the day-to-day running of physical structures and maintaining those. But I think that as long as we are just focusing on, what's broken, what's coming up, we need to get ahead of the, we need to get ahead and, some of this backwards planning, saying, look around the country, look at where, even nations that are going back to like paper copies, they're going back to textbooks, they're going back to some really revolutionary different kinds of models that are based in what we know about human development and what we know about bringing parents into community. I feel like we're stuck in this really, the industrial model, right? We're still the banking system. Our buildings don't fit where we need to go. We talk about project management and helping kids have more autonomy, and we need innovators. We need people who are going to be inventors. We know our economy is changing, and we're stuck in these tiny little, I'm at Canyon Ridge, a beautiful remodel, very grateful for it. But we have these big kid bodies stuck in rows, and there's no place to do project-based learning. There's a science curriculum that is killing the love of learning. It's little gadgets on a computer, instead of having, a lot of our classrooms don't have running water to do science. And we're not allowed to have fish tanks, and we're not allowed to have water. So to me, we're really talking, we're looking at the little crumbs that have already fallen off of this thing that has gone. And we need to catch up with, what do we want to be? Who do we want to be? What do we want our kids to have experienced when they graduate? And I know we all want that, but I just feel like we need to stick our head up above the numbers and see, look at this money we have and where could it really be taking us,
Thank you for that. Yeah. Anybody else? Any comments?
I would just add, money-wise, not exactly piggyback. Oh, this is Steve Golliff. I think what Joe was asking previously was some detail on, I don't know that we need to look backwards and look at giant spreadsheets, but maybe look backwards, like you were saying, and see, have things, I mean, I can look on my phone right now and see 2016, some stuff that was changed after it was approved, right? And some stuff that didn't happen, and some stuff that's just now starting to happen, whatever. I thought we were focusing on going forward and what's what. If we sit here with a dozen people looking at spreadsheets and numbers, everybody's going to go to sleep. I love numbers. I would like it, but most people would go to sleep. So I feel like we need to keep our eye on the ball here. Like where are we picking up? Where are we on the track right now? And then what's going forward? I asked several months ago if there was some kind of a chart. Let me back up. I don't feel like I'm gonna push back on the site visit thing a little bit. I don't think I need to go to a school and look at a boiler or look at a field. I know what those things look like, but we need is a chart. And I asked about this several months ago that says, here's all the buildings we have. Here's the year they were built. here's how long we think they're supposed to be good for, whatever that number is. And then within each building, you know, all the systems in those buildings. I'm guessing we know roughly when boilers need to be replaced I don't know the answer, but every X number of years, and carpeting, we know all this stuff, how often it needs to be replaced. But that's the stuff we need to see, I feel like. And I think if you're trying to get people to vote for a levy, and if you said, hey, this stuff is it's due to be replaced now, then that would make sense. I think what we've heard recently is this stuff is way past its useful lifespan, and it's an emergency to pass it now. And I feel like we need to get out of that track.
Not
Get
the
off,
fire.
get on a different track. What's that?
Not be a firefighter.
Yeah,
Not putting
best
out
case.
fires
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah. And yeah, obviously stuff happens that's unexpected, but it's pretty predictable. You need carpet every 10 or 12 years, and you need a boiler every, what they are, 30 years, I don't know. Metal roof, you need every 40 or 50 years, whatever it is. So I think we know that stuff. So that's the kind of the track that I thought we were gonna be on.
Thank you for that.
I would also share that I think that at one point in time, I did see some sort of graphic that had each building with like a red, yellow, green, like label on it. I couldn't tell you where to find that anymore. Which perhaps therein lies a problem as well. But more information being provided about what, you know, I agree with what you were saying, and I am here for stop being the firefighter and start inventing. I am all here for that. But I just wanted to point out that I think a lot of this stuff exists somewhere. A lot of this information exists somewhere, right? But I couldn't tell you where to find it.
Well, I
know that,
remember the graphic you're talking about, and I think that graphic was extremely basic, as I recall, right? Like building is in good shape. This building's kind of in medium shape. This building needs a lot of help. There's something like that, right?
Correct.
There was nothing for us to make any decisions on based on that, though.
Yeah, that graphic came out when we hired OAC, a consultant group that basically facilitated what we're doing now and did a assessment of all of the property along with the state assessment and came up with those reports at that time for the 2023 bond. So those were done in 2021 and 2022. So by the time we get to 2024 and passing a levy, everything that was identified in that bond that needed work was then urgent. Does that make sense? And so pivoting to that urgent messaging because it had been identified several years earlier. Yeah, I totally agree. We want to be moving forward and not reactive, but proactive. So,
And
okay. Someone online had their hand up?
Now you can hear me. I was just going to ask I don't know if it's possible or not, but is it possible we're not specifically talking about a slide if we can go away from the slide so that those of us that are online can kind of see who's talking?
Sure.
Thank you. That's awesome. Because it makes it really hard to follow if you can't see who's speaking.
Sure. Would you like to identify and share your name with us? And
Michelle McCormick. I joined a little bit late. Sorry.
no worries. No worries. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Michelle.
And I'll add to what Faith was saying there. And to give you guys a little bit of a background on those on the color-coded maps that you were talking about. There was a lot more information that was compiled to come up with those maps. It wasn't quite as a broad overview as the graphic shows. And Dave Buzzard is working on a master facility plan where we are gathering all of the information of all of the equipment, all of the finishes throughout the district, throughout each site, and going back on past records of when things were replaced and really just compiling all of that information so that we have a running list going forward. So we can start getting ahead of these things instead of trying to chase them down as they fail. So that information will be shared with this group when it's ready.
And I'll say one more thing. I think you sort of touched on an interesting point here, which is we've done all this before. We did this for the bond and it failed catastrophically, and then a levy failed, and then a levy failed, and then it barely passed this past November. So we might want to consider, what are we doing differently? Because if we go back and do, like, we already created the school in the graphic that says, here's the oldest schools, here's what we need to do. We already created the list of projects. We already listed out the costs. We already did all of this. So are we expecting that it's a different group of people and somehow this group of people will be better than the last group of people? Or what is different?
Well, I mean, since those were done in 2021, 2022, we would need to, anything that would need to be updated, like maybe something since then has become past their 30-year lifespan for a boiler, let's say, or something like that. So we would need to adjust that, but.
Yeah, not the list of projects, the process.
Oh, the
We
process.
went through a process years ago and it wasn't even close to working for the bond. And it wasn't until we halved the amount of money that we barely squeaked by on the bare minimum amount of funding, right? That was the messaging, is this is the bare minimum we can get to barely survive for the next 3 years. And so if you're gonna do more, it's not gonna pass unless we do something different. And I'd be really curious, what is it that we're doing different? Because so far it seems like we're just repeating the same thing over and over and over again and hoping that one of these times it'll just pass and we can delay the next one for another 3 years.
Well, I think tonight is an example in these meetings. They're called KSD Together for a reason. They're not levy and bond listing sessions. They're called KSD Together. And that's really what our focus is going to be on, is together as a community. And because of that, we need to invite our friends and colleagues and other people to join in this work, because the more people that understand and know, the better off we will be as a district and be able to pass these measures when they're needed. We've also committed to keeping our project list from the 2024, try to keep it as just as it is written now and really follow through on that. Providing the regular updates. Does everybody receive the foundation's update every month? So if you don't receive that, I mean, that's something new that we have done for the last 2 years. I think that's helped as well. We're also doing more outreach with our community. I know Ms. Mata has really helped with the community outreach pieces with the citizens group. I think under her leadership this last time, they really went forward and working with our other local, the 47th, the 11th, 31st Democratic groups. They did an amazing job. So thank you for that. But so that was something different this last time as well that hadn't been done before. And that with the leadership on the citizen side of Ms. Mata. So I think both district and the citizens group are looking forward to changing it up and trying to do things differently to support KSD together. We're one team, one community for our kids.
Yep, and I get it. Last year, Dr. Behringer tried to create a parent committee. And I have not heard any updates on where that is. I think he's mentioned it's still ongoing. I don't know anything about what that's doing, but that was supposed to be this. That was supposed to be parents come in and talk and gain trust and figure out what to do. So we have tried this before also, and it has not worked. Citizen schools, I think every levy and every bond has waved signs and posted, so that's not any different either. Like I think everything you listed has happened before, right? Or is like, that's my question. What's different this time compared to last time? Because Citizens Schools, the citizens group, they post on Facebook for every levy and the bond, right? Or do they not?
They do, but
Okay.
the difference with, what I was saying is, Ms. Mata.
And I'll let me stop there.
Sure.
The laugh, I don't think fits the tone. I'd appreciate not
Well, in my defense, this is Leslie Hamada. I was at every one of those meetings and it was very different. And I've been on these
Sorry.
committees for over 20 years in Kent School District. And I've watched as the challenges have come. And I apologize, but I mean, it's kind of
For sure.
offensive to me when you say it wasn't different and you weren't involved in any of it that I'm aware of.
I asked what is different, because the
I think you-
statement was
I
that
think
the
you should-
citizens group did more, and I was saying the citizens group had done stuff already, so I was asking what was different this time around compared to last time.
Which I'm trying to explain to you.
Yep.
If it's that, and that's, I mean, when I do a lot of work and people say it's not different, and I know the work that was done, then I'm offended. So forgive me if I'm offended by, that. But I'm saying, in the years past, over the 20 years, we used to have a lot more involvement. And we used to like get the business involved in these things. We used to have phone banks. We used to go over and we would sometimes we get some of these nonprofit organizations to give their people to run these campaigns. I don't know if you've ever run a campaign, Joe, but it's not easy. Because right now, one of the things I do want to mention is, because I'm involved in the state and the federal politics of education, and I don't know how much you follow that, but Fed money and state money and everything has gotten less and less that they give to education. So you have to deal with that to begin with. You also have to deal with, in my estimation, a very changing demographics of a lot of the things that school is expected to do today. So the dollar amount that you used to have when my kids went to school or my grandkids are going to school is going to be very, very different. And so you already got this challenge. On top of it, we come out of a COVID, which was unprecedented. A lot of people lost. I mean, I'm out there every week with my church doing emergency assistance and touching people who can't pay their rent, who can't keep their power on and all this. And I can sympathize with that. And when you start talking about, and they're working 2 jobs just to maybe try to meet that, you have challenges out there today that are way beyond education, in my estimation. Housing costs. You can't, I mean, even the rent, you can't hardly make it on the wages that we have. So there's been wage stagnation. All of that plays into passing propositions, levies, and bonds. And if you don't get out to the public and out to the taxpayers, first you have to have the turnout. But second of all, you have to have the people and the manpower to do this. And what we did in this last campaign with not a whole lot of people was pretty amazing to me. The people we touched on social media, the people we went out and did door knocking. We'd done door knocking when the teachers really got out and did it. And honestly, I think this is where this trust and relationships comes in. We need people to really support this, to really understand that this is our district. And yeah, I think there's a segment, and I'm not saying it's all community, a segment of people that don't have trust, that don't feel like they're saying, but there's also a segment like seniors like me, they're on a fixed income. I mean, my taxes and my property taxes just keep going up. And I'm saying, I could say, why do I want to, pay money for somebody else's kid to go to school? My kids have gone to school, they've gone to college, So you have to sell that and you have to find a way, well, yeah, but what's the biggest asset you have in your life? Most people, it's their house. And if you start not paying levies, not passing levies and bonds, your property value, I mean, I could go on, but there's a lot to running a campaign. And we really did a lot of things differently than the last, probably I say about the last 5 campaigns that I've worked on, because very few people were showing up and there was a very few people who were volunteering because it takes time. I mean, I'm fortunate to be retired. So I can sit on the phone and I can call people and I can work for 20, 30, 40 hours a week, which I did during this campaign. So that's why I'm laughing, because I'm saying, if you don't know what people do, maybe you might want to understand that part, you see? And we did do things, but we need so much more involvement in today's need. And I'm convinced that, the biggest problem we have is we want to do so much for so many people, And we're just never going to get the support and the money to do that. So we have to really prioritize, and we do have to bring in not just the people at this table, people that don't have the time to come in, so they have babysitting or they have language that they need and that. That's what's needed today. And maybe we still aren't going to pass them. Maybe we're going to have to get a different system. I don't know. But I've worked on police levies. I was chairman of the Covington proposition, which is a really good property tax that was way beyond Covington for all the sales tax. They didn't pass it. So what did they do? The council went around and did license tabs, so they had more. They had a tax that would have been paid for by way citizens beyond Covington, and they didn't pass it. So then the council was forced to get to hire another police officer that they had to go through. What they could do is license tabs, and they could force that on them. So a lot of it is information, relationships, and telling people that they have to get their bang for their buck. I agree.
Yeah, and I appreciate the clarification. I just want to, one sort of response. It sounds like, and this is what happened. So the April bond or the 2023 bond failed. Went out with we had the survey, and then there was a presentation, and Dr. Behringer was here, and like the emphasis on the presentation was we didn't have enough turnout. We need more emails, more outreach to the community, but we're not going to change anything about the project list or the cost. And it was just, we need more people. And then that one failed. And I'll never remember, it was in this room where we looked at the results and Dr. Behringer said, if we only had 800 more people, it would have passed and it would have been great. And so the next iteration was again, more emails. And I have my email inbox, you can count every single time. It was just more emails, more emails, more emails, more communication, more Facebook posts, more door knocking, more sign waving. And so it sounds like the only thing you're doing differently is hoping that you can reach enough people and somehow convince them that you don't have to change. And I'm here to say that's not going to work. If we need actions, you need actions to say we are changing behaviors, not just how we're communicating, but we're changing behaviors to be able to gain trust. And if we don't do that, I don't see how we're going to pass another levy.
So perhaps I could maybe offer maybe a small portion of the what's going to happen in the future. We realize that there's many aspects of winning a bond or an election. And one of the area that I would be responsible for is fiscal responsibility. What I could tell you is that I work very closely with our capital projects team for the purpose of providing transparency. It's really important for us to be able to, for the community to see and trust that we are providing a transparent and responsible financial reports and things like that. I came from a background in California. I retired from California system at 36,000 student schools and was largely involved in a campaign to get $650 million bond. One of the things that the community really wanted is to make sure that our financial reports are something that they could trust, something that is available, and that we have good fiscal management. And that is something that I could bring to this community. I came here in Washington 4 years ago, like you did in 2020. I thought I'm going to retire. Actually, I did retire from California, but then I felt like I wanted to go back into serving the children. And so there's no better place than serving, a place which is closer to me. I live in Black Diamond. And so when I found that Kent needs somebody, I was an analyst for about 2 years here, but then recently appointed as executive director about 6 months ago. And what I bring to you is those experience. Although mine is a very small portion of the campaign to win the bond, but I intend to advise, our executive cabinet in terms of some of my experiences, how to do you win the bond. What you mentioned earlier about making a list of all the facilities, that's something that we've done. We call them facilities needs analysis, where we go building by building, look at the age, look at what's needed, and also looking at what it could become based on the current environment that we're facing. And at that point, we determined in my old district, a sizable amount of needs, it's a big amount of needs in the billion. But then when we went to the community was only willing to support $650 million. The community understood that there's a much bigger need, but this is what they want to support. They also realized that we could only accomplish a quarter of the needs. And so managing that expectation with the community is very important. Everybody wants their building to be renovated or built from the ground up. But with the limited amount of money, they understood that we cannot do all of them, but at least we listened to them. And we were very intentional about what we're going to build. And I'm happy to say that if you were to go to their website right now, you'll be able to see some of the state-of-the-art buildings that we did in that district. These are the type of things, even though you might not see them right now, some of the changes that we're doing, but there's a lot of work working behind the scenes to be able to get to a place where our community would trust us. And so as an example, like, again, the financial report that we've been doing and partnering with our capital projects provides some assurance that those money have been spent according to what was promised to the community. And it just needs to be organized a certain way so that it's digestible for the community. So,
Steve, I believe you had your hand up earlier. Or you're good. Okay.
So here, I'm here to give my piece about, is it on? Okay, thanks. So I'm here to give my piece about what I do. I'm an early learning specialist over at Covington. So I have 22 students between my two groups. I have an AM and a PM group. So now, as you know, the early learning program in Kent is pretty much, their focus is pretty much on special ed preschool. So we serve all kids with IEPs that come in through Child Find at age 3, and some that come in at an older age before kindergarten. So now my thing here with Kent School District is, now we want, with any special ed child, if with any IEP, we want them in the least restrictive environment. So seeing that we only have self-contained classes for our preschoolers. So my big thing is wanting to expand that program and, create some inclusive classes, and also maybe some gen ed preschool that can be taught by a certified gen ed teacher. So the thing is, we want to create a wide variety of preschool classrooms for our students. Now, am I looking for universal pre-K? That would seem like a pipe dream, and for taxpayers, that would be a ridiculous expense on them. So no, that's not what I'm looking. It's not what I'm pushing for at the present time. So basically, what I'm looking for is, now I understand. Now I understand two things that were brought to my attention by the superintendent and assistant. So now Mr. Behringer told me, or Dr. Behringer told me, that there was something on the bond for 2023 which failed. So he was saying they had to rearrange their priorities. Now, I did sift through some of the press releases or news articles from that time, and it did say there were a lot of criticisms about wasteful spending, but I could be mistaken about this, but from what I was seeing, preschool wasn't one of them. So I was hoping we could really get that back on the next bond. So now the superintendent, Mr. Avila, he told me that that ever since we moved, I guess they moved the 6th graders from the elementary schools to the middle schools. I think he was telling me that since they made that move, they now have some space available. So I guess that would be a good thing to free up some space for that too. Now, here's the thing. I mean, this is just something I drew. That would be like, an ideal early learning center somewhere in the district. Now, this would house about 300 preschoolers, or if you want to go with some half day, maybe 500, give or take. So that would probably, that would serve a good amount of kids there, but it wouldn't put a dent into, universal preschool. So, but it would expand our program quite a lot. So I'm hoping, eventually we can either use some of the space in the elementary schools or build something like this. Now, my big thing, one big thing I want to bring, as the point, if we're going to use space that's already in elementary schools, and I understand some of these schools are pretty old and aren't really, and are in need of renovation. So the space that's being used by the preschoolers, if we're going to dedicate it for that purpose, we need to do some renovation to the inside of the classrooms, and, make, things with like the furniture, the plumbing, all that stuff. It needs to be conducive to preschool use. And there has to be a bathroom right adjacent to the classroom, or you could have one between 2 classrooms, but they got to have direct access to it, because, running them back and forth down the hallway is going to be a nightmare. So that's one.
And may I add to
Oh, yeah,
that?
yeah, go ahead.
Because dollar for dollar, early childhood education is the most effective way to prevent so many of our
Yes.
issues down the line.
There you go. Yeah. And
I have 6th graders that don't know how to use scissors. And it affects your math knowledge. If you can't, write, writing is fractions. You're dividing up a space with a physical action,
Mhm.
right? So that's what I'm talking about. Like when we can get past our buildings to our vision
Mhm.
of what, yeah, so anyway, I know
Yeah, yeah.
that the
No, that's great.
the
That's-
details will come later,
Of
but
course.
this is what we need to be talking about.
Yeah, and I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was at the first superintendent meet and greet, which I think was sometime in October, I think, something like that. So they were all bringing up issues about, security in the schools and kids, making unsafe choices. So let me just make a very simple argument here. So say you have some preschoolers here and a kid picks up, some blocks and they form it into a weapon. They start going pow, pow, pow. Okay, there you go. You can very easily correct that behavior and tell them, no, that's not safe. We don't use that sort of thing. Let's build something else. So a child at that age, you can very easily redirect that behavior and put it into their head from an early time that this sort of behavior is not acceptable. So whereas, trying to tell a 6th or 7th grader, that's, got thoughts of, things like that, that's going to be a much more difficult dealing with a child that age, that are, harboring all these thoughts there. So you reach them at a younger age, that will save a lot of problems down the line, or we'll try to, but anyways. So that's one thing. So, and, back to my point on, least restrictive environment. So my vision here is that we have, our special ed preschool, and we kind of expand that out. Now, I want to tell you, I've got 22 children in my 2 groups, right? I'd say only 5 of those kids would need to be in a self-contained preschool setting, because my other 17 of them would do just fine either in a gen ed preschool or possibly an inclusive preschool, like, 6 with IEPs and 6 without, taught by a special ed preschool teacher. So I think we need a wider variety there on, on how the, how the environments are set up. So, and also I think kindergarten, as far as the environments there, that could use a little work too, but I'll get to that another time. So now here's the thing. I know it's expensive, you have to have a lead teacher and you have to have at least 1 para, so it's not cheap. So my theory here, my vision is that, so here's the thing, the students that qualify with an IEP or qualify under ECAP or whatever you want to house in here, so they get it for free, fine. So the ones that don't qualify, in Seattle, they have the Preschool Plus program. So the ones that don't qualify under those umbrellas, they can pay tuition. They qualify, they'll pay to go, but it's not like an exorbitant amount of money. They pay a fixed amount based on their family income and their family size. So that's all factored in there, and they're charged on a sliding scale. So the parents are still assuming some of the responsibility in that cost, because it will be pretty costly for the district to provide that preschool education for all of them. But it will, but our focus is to have a high quality program. And, the parents, their taxes, they pay their taxes, and, if they can pay their share into this, versus paying like several $1,000s a month in childcare, which is ridiculous. And I think that would put us a step in the right direction. So, like I said, if we can, I know we don't have a bond coming up until, when was the next bond supposed to come up? 2028. Okay. So, ideally, yeah, we could get something like this on a bond, but, in the meantime, if we can, fit some of the existing elementary school classrooms and, get more students in there and, like I said, have a sliding scale for some of the gen ed preschoolers, because, there's all those politicians who are saying general ed preschool is glorified babysitting. They are wrong, but, with that mindset, it is expensive. I will give you that. It's not like kindergarten. I mean, you need to have more support in the classroom, even whether the kids have special needs or not, because, you're just dealing with, a population that, they're just, they're just getting it, they're just having a start in life. And, we're trying to reach them where they are. You need to have that extra support and supervision. So, just, how do I tie this all up?
No,
So,
we hear
yes.
you, and I think, and yeah, and I know he.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Anybody.
I
Sorry.
do
Oh, thank you.
know, that this year there are new early childhood education programs in some of the schools that have never had
Yeah.
the preschool
Mhm.
before, so it's not a lot.
Uh-huh.
But I know I drive one of the programs,
Mhm.
so I know we're making steps.
Yeah, so,
Not
oh, I
all
know.
that we need to.
I know.
but
Well, I know Covington was
they
supposed to
have-
get,
They have added some, so.
well, I
at
know,
least
yeah.
a step in the right direction.
Okay, so I know Covington was trying to get a gen ed preschool added on. Of course, that didn't work out, but, so yeah, there's that. And also, what's the other point I wanted to bring up? So, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Where were we? Okay, so, yeah, so it wasn't taxpayers. Okay, so, shoot, I'm so sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
no,
If you
it's-
remember,
yeah.
so we are at overtime, and I'm going to be respectful of everybody that it's from 6 to 7. And I know that some of us have other meetings that we actually have to get to by 7:30 as well. So, sure, really quick.
Okay, I'm sorry. So here's the thing I know we have ECAP as a regular part of our thing. Now, the only thing is, one issue I have with ECAP and also with Head Start is that they don't require their teachers to be certified just like us. And, here's I have my problem with those programs, not that they're bad, but I'm saying is that they don't require those teachers to have those credentials and they don't pay them as much. I have a big problem with that because their job is no easier than mine. You're grouping kids together based on their socioeconomic status. And, they probably come with a lot of baggage from, some impoverished households. And, you're expecting these teachers to have the same skills as people like us and you pay them less. That's a problem for me also. I'm not, like I said, it's not a bad program, but I think we need to also,
Yeah, equity issue.
yeah, that could also be. And I think maybe making that a more inclusive thing with SimGened and, kind of streamlining the process. So it's under one program, but maybe they qualify under these umbrellas. I think that could also use some work too. And okay, I think that was the other thing I wanted to hit, but I guess I can get to more of it later. So I'll just.
Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate that. So I do want to wrap up tonight.
Can I say one, I'll go faster than we're at time. So, I wanted to say this because it directly connects to what you were talking about. So, I think the hurdle we're up against here is, I don't remember if universal pre-K was on the bond, the 2023 bond. But it wasn't on the November levy. And then it came back for the April levy as universal pre-K, and that was a little bit of a surprise. It was universal pre-K. It was on the April levy as universal pre-K. Every elementary school would have a pre-K program, but the problem is after it came out, Dr. Berenger said that it was never staffing, it was never a program. They were going to build space for universal pre-K everywhere. And then later, a few years later, decide how to staff it and when to staff it and what to do with it, right? And so like that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to build it everywhere and then say, okay, we're going to staff these two, or in the middle of a staffing crisis, say, oh, we can't staff any of these because we don't have the money for it, right? And so like that's the thing is like, and it was surprising also because universal pre-K was one of the highest community rated projects, and it did not make it into the November when they slashed. Right. And so like there's all these evidence of it wasn't really well thought out. It was cut when the community said they didn't want it to be cut. And those things we can't do if you want the community to gain support. And so I would really like to see a plan for the next levy or bond to not universal, but like pick the three best schools and build space and staff it and get it running well. And then a couple of years later, if it runs well, you can add 3 more or 4 more or 5 more or something. But like we need an actual sustainable plan, not just the buzzword of universal pre-K, and then we'll figure it out later.
Program in New York City, that was like a 5 or 6 year long sustained project until it finally reached all 4-year-olds in New York City. It was a long protracted, phase in thing. So that's what we kind of need. You're right. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I do appreciate everyone being here tonight and sharing your voices. It's really important as we come together and build these relationships anywhere from the financial to the vision. And I'll speak with Dr. Berenger because I'm thinking maybe we need to have a vision statement that our team comes up with here moving forward and really kind of hammer that out. So I do appreciate everybody's input tonight. And if anybody has any additional questions, I'll be around for a few minutes. I know some of us have to leave, but thank you tonight. And it was very nice meeting everybody.
Thank you.